Hey everybody. At 45 years old, I was peeing every 30 minutes, waking up all night. I had that uncomfortable feeling of pressure in my bladder. I was having trouble starting, and worst of all was that feeling of not being able to fully void, like not being able to fully finish peeing once I had started. So I'd be sitting there waiting to pee, and then I couldn't even get it all out. And doctors were talking about pushing pills and procedures that I just did not want to have any part of. So instead of going down that road, I created my own protocol. And now my symptoms are virtually gone. No surgery, no meds, just food, discipline, and daily consistency. Let me show you exactly what I did step by step. Quick disclaimer though, I am not a doctor. I am just someone who has committed to healing himself when the medical system was giving me answers that I just didn't trust. I've tested this protocol on myself day after day for almost a year now. This is not theory, it's a lived experience, and it's how it changed everything for me. For anyone dealing with BPH, you know how disruptive it is. Constant urgency, interrupted sleep, low libido. It's frustrating, embarrassing, exhausting, and yet most of the solutions out there just treat the symptoms and not the root cause. That didn't sit right with me. I needed a real fix, a root level change. One of the most powerful shifts I made was adopting intentional fasting. I don't necessarily call it intermittent fasting or like full-blown fasting where you're just not eating anything for an extended period of time. It was intentional fasting, pretty much giving myself a break every single day of anywhere from 16 to 18 hours between meals. And I've discussed this in other videos where I would shut down the kitchen at 6:30 p.m. so that I'm not eating any later than 6:30, 7 o'clock. And then I don't eat my first meal the next day until about noon. I don't eat until my body asks for it, which typically means not eating my first meal until after noon or 1 o'clock. This gives my digestive system time to rest, allows inflammation to drop, and helps me stay more in tune to what I actually need versus what I'm craving. For me, fasting isn't deprivation, it's giving my body a chance to clean house. Next was the world of herbal tea. Herbal tea opened my eyes to a whole new world of possibilities as far as getting nutrition in a actually pretty flavorful and tasty way. These are the staple teas that I made sure that I always had on hand. Ginger, mint blends, mainly peppermint, dandelion root, burdock root, tulsi, and lemon balm. I would brew tea first thing in the morning, and I made sure that it always contained those ingredients. Dandelion root was a big one, absolutely no sugar. And then there were some tinctures. Some main tinctures that I would use as supplements to all of this were milk thistle and also dandelion root tincture. So I was drinking the dandelion root tea as well as the dandelion root tincture and milk thistle to just help detox and keep things moving through my body and causing a lot of elimination. The next big staple, which to this day continues to be a main staple for my diet daily, is a smoothie. Now, not a smoothie necessarily in the traditional sense because I was drinking a lot of smoothies, but I found that I really like my smoothies nice and thick. So I was making them so that they were really more of a bowl, more of a smoothie bowl like what I'm going to show you here. But I would never do it before noon or 1 o'clock in the afternoon, still allowing my body that time to digest and recover and begin to heal itself in the morning. The way that I got till noon or 1 o'clock by not eating anything solid was drinking a lot of water and a lot of tea up until that point. When I build my smoothies, I like to start with a base of like 8 ounces of coconut water. And then I'll usually start with a fruit base, throw in some greens and a couple of veggies and some superfoods. And I make sure that all these ingredients are always in there every single day. It can vary based on what's seasonal, what's available, what I have left in my kitchen if I haven't gone shopping. Pretty much the standard staples are going to be banana, a green apple, mangoes, spinach or kale. And then I usually throw in some kind of a root veg, whether it be beets or carrots. And then I'll add in spices and superfoods and herbs as needed. My staple superfoods that I'm always adding in are chia or flax, moringa powder, spirulina powder, maca powder, hemp protein seeds, pumpkin protein seeds, and a pea protein has kind of become my staple protein powder that I'll get into most of my smoothies. Various fruits can include anything from blueberries, pineapple, strawberries, any of your vegetables like zucchini, cucumber, all of these can be included into the smoothies as well. I eventually began to introduce citrus juicing before I would drink my smoothies to help kind of supercharge my digestive system, if you will, and provide really root level hydration. And that's with grapefruits and oranges and shaved ginger. To me, this is not only delicious, but helps kind of get things started and off on the right foot when it comes to digestion. And that would be considered lunch. And I would make sure that after that, I'd wait about 10 or 15 minutes and then I'd brew myself some peppermint tea or peppermint and tulsi tea. And I would sip on that throughout the afternoon until it got time to be ready for dinner, which usually fell between 5 and 6 o'clock. Again, making sure that I'm not eating anything after 6:30, 7 p.m. at the absolute latest. Dinner would consist of what I call a power bowl, usually a base of either millet or quinoa, topped with sweet potatoes and massaged kale. And so I would build the bowls with the quinoa, the sweet potatoes, the kale, and then I would top with either avocado as my fats or olive oil or even walnut butter or tahini mixed with a little lemon juice, and then top with as many herbs as I could possibly get. My staples are cilantro, dill, parsley, fennel. Chopped fennel and chopped dill are fantastic scrubbers of the intestines, if you will, and they help eliminate a lot of waste from your body. Next is the hydration protocol. Hydration was kind of the basis of everything, was just to keep things moving, whether it be through peeing or through bowel movements. I just constantly wanted to make sure that I was eliminating from my body, rather than buying some store-bought sugar-filled electrolyte mix or somebody trying to sell you something. This is just a basic recipe for homemade electrolyte water that I would drink anywhere from 3,000 to 4,500 milliliters of a day. I have this large 1,500 milliliter mason jar that I fill at least 3 times a day, first thing in the morning, and then again about 10 or 11 o'clock in the morning before I would settle into lunch. And then about mid-afternoon or so, I'd get another one of these jars down. And I would fill about 1,000 milliliters of it with room temperature water that comes either from spring water or from my reverse osmosis machine. And then I would do the next 500 milliliters to get it up to 1,500 of boiling hot water or hot water that comes out of my tea kettle. And then I add in, I don't know, anywhere from a teaspoon to a tablespoon of sea salt. I use trace minerals, cream of tartar for potassium, and lemon juice for all your remaining minerals needed. This combination makes a fantastic homemade electrolyte water without any sugar and without any guilt or bad things entering your body, nothing processed, no preservatives, nothing like that. But again, we're shooting for 3 of these big jars full a day, which equals about 4,500 milliliters of water per day. That's not including the tea, and hydration was a game changer. My experience is the bladder needs support, not stimulation. Now, when it comes to stimulation, I must admit that the first 3 or 4 months of this, while I did see significant improvements almost immediately, I did continue to drink caffeine. I didn't quit caffeine until rather recently, but now that I've given up caffeine, it has taken my symptom reversal to another level to where, like I said, they're virtually gone. And I was finding that caffeinated teas and caffeinated beverages like tea were exacerbating the symptoms. The other part of this is daily movement and nervous system nourishment. Doing anywhere from 20 to 30 minutes of yoga, try to do it in the morning, followed by about 10 to 20 minutes of light cardio. In the beginning of this process, I had knee replacement surgery, so by no means was I doing any kind of crazy cardio, but I was doing a bike every single day, and now I just stick with making sure I do yoga, and I do either 10 to 20 minutes of an elliptical, a light walk outside in the sun, or some kind of a stationary bicycle. When it comes to nervous system work, I'm taking Epsom salt baths, of course, meditation and grounding. I would sit in the sun. I've got kind of a little spot in my backyard. I'll show you a glimpse of it here, where I have some beach sand that I've put there, and it has a chair that I can sit there where the sun first comes up over the tops of the trees in my backyard and it hits me right in the face. I let that sun beat on me for about 15, 20 minutes while my feet are stuck in the ground, and I try to meditate. This helped retrain my nervous system and calm pelvic tension, which was huge for urgency. I'm not a big believer in supplements. I don't have this laundry list of supplements that I take. I definitely don't take any kind of a multivitamin or any over-the-counter conglomerates. Some of the main ones that I do take are, I take a very high-quality EPA DHA, a D3K2, and magnesium. Magnesium, all different kinds. Topical oils, glycinate, citrate, as well as Epsom salt baths are all great ways to get magnesium into my system. I will reiterate that once I quit caffeine, I saw a huge spike in the improvement of reversing all of these symptoms. Of course, absolutely no alcohol and no pharma. not even over the counter. So like I said, I didn't rely on supplements by any means. I just strategically placed a few into my protocol to help me get anything that I might have been missing through the whole foods that I was eating. So consistency over time is huge for this. The truth, this didn't change me overnight. But within a few weeks, I started to notice that I was sleeping through the night better. I was having less urgency, less pressure on my bladder, and I was beginning to just flow better. And after a few months, I definitely felt like a different person. Today, here we are almost a year later, I don't even think about my prostate anymore. I go to the bathroom, I use urinals again, I'm not waiting for the stall. So if you're watching this and you're feeling stuck, I see you. I was there. You don't need to live in fear of surgery or side effects. You just need to reclaim your choices and simplify everything. To me, that's what Warrior Beacon is about. So if this helped you, please like the video, drop a comment, subscribe. I read every single message. I'm planning on doing some lives here with some Q&A because I'm sure there's a lot of questions that come out when I don't fully cover all of this. I take a lot of my knowledge on this for granted. I've been following this protocol for almost a year now while seeing amazing results. Please let me know what part of this protocol you would like a deeper dive on, and I will definitely make more videos pertaining to this for everybody to learn from.